So we're back with Lee Scott. We're so excited to have you on here again, Lee. Our conversation last time was amazing, which I say about everybody, but I really think that there's some significant content that was shared in that last discussion. So I can't wait to jump back in. But Lee, give us just a brief introduction of who you are and kind of some of the things that you do, and then we're going to hop right back into the conversation.
Okay. Well, once again, thank you, Miss Andrea. My name is Lee Scott. I am a podcaster and blogger. I have a podcast called Leading with Lee. You can find it on YouTube and also on different podcasting platforms like Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you are an avid Spotify listener, you can listen to it on there, and there's certain other platforms too. Um, on there, I talk about life and leadership, and my biggest thing is talking to people about how they can be the most productive in their space and in the place that they are born to be and impact the world in a significant way. So that's what I talk about.
That's
Thanks.
beautiful. So, just to kind of summarize what we talked about last time, we talked about Lee told us what mental health was, an examining of just all levels of your life, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, just all those levels, dealing with the hard places, how our relationships affect us negatively or affect us positively. And then we talked about it in the context of Christianity and how we see it present in so many of the patriarchs in the Bible, where it suggests that they did have mental health struggles and that God will intervene if we acknowledge that we have issues. So we left on a really high note. Lee, the last thing you told us a lot when you were on here was that your third prescription, I think number one was have a foundation of faith.
Yeah.
Um, have Jesus as your center as a believer, because we do understand that not everybody is a Christian that watches with us. But for us, Jesus is our foundation. Number
Right.
two, accountability. Accountability creates community. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah.
It's revolutionary. It's a new concept. I think I want to have you again so that we can really talk about that and just jump right in and really examine what that looks like. And the third thing you talked about was having a therapist. Now, that was one of my questions. You've been pretty open and candid about your mental health journey, and
Right.
I've heard you share stories on your Facebook page and on YouTube and in some other on some other platforms about how you walk through this journey. So, can you do you mind jumping in and just talking about that and why you're such an advocate for having a therapist?
Yeah. And that's a great question. I think that we don't realize that there are people that are trained to help us think. The importance of therapy is about introspection and realization. I think I've had so many realizations in therapy, and for different people, they may have a different standard by which they look for a therapist. I don't particularly prescribe or I don't particularly tell people what they should look for in a therapist. I think people should have the liberty to figure out what they need for themselves, because they're obviously in the mental health space. There are therapists and counselors that have expertise, and so you have to be aware of that and have to consider that when you're looking for someone to be your therapist. Um, Realize that therapy is a relationship of trust,
Yes.
that obviously therapists are not going out there telling your business, but understand that they are the type of people that literally want you to be able to say whatever you feel, because the more you expose, the more you can address. I think the thing that therapy does for people is it is almost like you getting a CAT scan or a CT scan or MRI, and they go, whatever that part of your body that's hurting, you can look on the inside and see what issue is there and figure out how can we correct that issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so the great thing about therapy is it is a way for us to have a CT scan on ourselves
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good.
and really assess. why are we doing these things, or why are we thinking these things, or why are we processing information a certain way. And the standard by which people may look for a therapist may be different, but it is a way that I think is tied to the other two things that we talked about earlier, or talked about on the last episode rather, that can be really critical. Because I think that having a therapist or talking to a counselor actually empowers the types of conversations you have with the Lord in prayer,
Mm-hmm.
and empowers the type of conversations you have with friends.
Yes.
For instance, I give a prime example, and I use myself as an example. Something I've been pretty public about in recent months and over this last year is the self-discovery of something that I didn't realize, and my brain just blocked out, of being molested as a kid, right? This happened to me in therapy. I was talking to my therapist, start talking about different things, and my therapist pointed it out. And so it's led me to start to do some self-discovery and really have conversations about this issue. And then it led to me having conversations with my family about certain people that I didn't realize might have, influenced me in a certain way, or who it was, or all these different things, and starting to discover that. And then also having conversations with my friends so that they could have a view into my life to where they know how to love me,
Yeah.
how to understand me, how to
That's good.
understand my story, how to speak to me, what things trigger me, because that very thing is only a symptom of, or excuse me, it can be a cause that creates other issues, right? Some of my own story, some of my own mental health issues is tied to that experience. Some of my own devaluing of my own personhood is tied to that experience. Some of the identity crisis that I experienced is tied to that thing. So what happened in therapy was we recognized that there was an issue. It led to follow-up conversations. It led me to know what I need to pray about. And then in prayer, I got understanding. And then it led to me having some engagement in my community for accountability.
Yeah.
And then it creates this circle. It creates this tie that we all need, where
Mm-hmm.
all three places are affecting us. And ultimately, what these three things cause us to do is experience healing. Because I think that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to experience healing.
Yes.
But you need to engage. I really believe you have to engage all three, because if you don't really engage all three, and I understand everybody can be doing it at different times. Obviously, it costs money to go to a therapist. It does. It costs money. Um, but maybe you've
But let me
gone.
let me let me put this in there. A lot of employers have employee assistance programs where
Right,
they
right,
will fund
right,
you for a number of sessions,
right,
and so
right,
it may not cost you a dime to go
right,
if you're with an employer that has those types of
right,
programs. So if you need one, they have licensed therapists. They're just people that are in a network, just like you would go to a medical
right,
provider,
right,
and you can pick one or go to a couple different ones
right,
if you don't find the
right,
right one for you. But go and find the one that you like and feel comfortable with. But
right,
you could do it through an employee assistance program
right,
at
right.
your workplace.
Right, right, and I agree. The reason why I was able to go to therapy was at the particular time, and for some people who might be listening to this or viewing this, I was still under 26 when I started going to therapy. So if your parents have an insurance plan that covers this, take advantage of it.
Yes.
I went to therapy because of, my brother went to therapy because of that. Like, there are ways that we can do, and resources available to. And I'm glad you brought that part up, Miss Andrea. Like, you can get help on that, but and especially in this particular moment, I think therapists are trying to make themselves as available as possible to people, because they recognize that though this is my profession, and I'm making money from this, I want to help as many people as possible, because I recognize that this moment is unprecedented, you know, and we're not out of the woods with a lot of stuff. There's
Yeah.
still tons of processes that we need to go through. We still need to get numbers down with COVID. Still need to get people in a better space and a better place financially in a lot of ways. And so people are experiencing a lot of pressure. So it takes all of that. And back to the major point is that it is ultimately about healing. Here's something that we don't want to be, that I think is very healthy for us to think about. Is healing is a process. there is an instantaneous moment where there's a shift, but you also have to walk out your healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Prime example.
Yeah.
If I broke my leg, right? The doctor may do surgery on my leg and put the bones back in place and, adjust my knee if the, or do all the things and sew me back up and make sure everything's functioning correctly. But I still have to go to rehab.
Yeah.
I still have to go to physical therapy. I still have to go through the process of trying to get that functionality back in my leg, because it's not that the doctor didn't do their job. It's not that the doctor didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
It's that I have to participate in the process of sustaining what the doctor did.
That's good. So
And a
before you
lot.
keep going, because this is one of the questions that I had for you. So I've discussed overcoming the stigma of mental health, people acknowledging the fact that they have mental health issues and kind of going through that process. I've talked with someone that was diagnosed with severe depression and
Wow.
had suicidal tendencies, had suicide ideation from like being a teenager
Wow.
all the way up through probably 22, 23, and really started, jumping in and seeing a therapist, counselor,
Yeah.
ended up having to get like, some medication. Not saying that that's her end result, but
It's okay.
yeah. So why do Christians have such a hard time with number one, discussing mental health issues? And why is it such a kind of an idea that it's a pseudoscience
Hmm.
within our realms?
I'm gonna get in trouble for saying this, but I just might as well say it. We demonize things we don't understand.
Mm,
I mean, just simple. And that's just not a Christian issue. That's a people issue. When we don't understand something, we automatically say that it's wrong or it's evil or it's satanic. It's something satanic behind it. And sometimes it just may just be something that's very, very like it can be something that's very harmless. I mean, we can look historically. Look at when we think about those Salem witch trials, like in retrospect, you're like, what? Like, how did they come up with that logic? But it's because it was something new that they did not understand.
hmm
We did. People do it all the time. We can look at certain communities when a person moves into a certain community where the people don't look like them. Automatically, there's a demonization in their mind, right? Oh, this person might be bad. This person is going to change the dynamic of our community, right? It doesn't matter who it is, or they're not like us, or they don't. It is something that we naturally do, and so I think, particularly in the Christian context, it does not. And I've said it, and I really believe this. It doesn't make me less Christian if I feel as if I need to go get help. Now, I'm gonna say this, and this is why I mentioned this earlier when I talked about therapy, is people forget there are Christians that are therapists. Like,
Yeah.
and there are Christian counselors who specifically use their faith to talk about mental health issues.
hmm
Now, everybody may have a different view of that. I'm not going to particularly give my specific opinion because personally, well, I am. I'm just going to say, I specifically feel as if I don't necessarily this is very, very, very personal. I don't come to my therapist for spiritual counsel. I don't. This is why I got Jesus, and this is why I have friends who love Jesus. I, that's not why I'm coming right there. I'm just coming to my therapist to talk through some stuff so I can better understand certain things or realize some things. So when I go to prayer, I know what to pray about.
Yeah.
When I talk to my friends, I know what to talk to them about. Now, for some people, they may want their counselor to be a believer. There was a counselor I had at one particular time. She doesn't define herself as a Christian counselor. She does not approach counseling as a Christian, but she is a believer. And there have been moments where I was talking to her about an issue, and because we both knew we were believers, we had that understanding in the room. She could say to me, "Okay, Lee, this is a mental health issue, but here's what the word says about this." And it undergirded what she was saying as a mental health professional.
hmm
I also think, and this is just me, I also think that we should have a licensed therapist to talk to. I think it's kind of important that there are people that have expertise in the issue because, you know, for instance, the person you talked about who had dealt with depression. If I don't have expertise to understand the science behind depression, because some of the science behind depression has to do with chemical stuff,
It does.
it has to do with family lineage. It has to do with a
Yes.
whole lot of other factors. If I don't have the expertise to understand that, what I'll do is I'll say what I said in the last episode is, "Oh, you're not praying enough."
Hmm.
Well, I might need to pray more, and that may be true. But also, it may just be I literally have a chemical imbalance
Yeah.
because that's just we are fallen creatures
Yes.
because of what Adam did and Eve did. Well, awesome is Adam's fault, but we are fallen. So that means there's going to be some imperfections, which means that we need to get help.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that we have to make important, in particular in the Christian context. We cannot we cannot demonize something that could be helping people in a significant way.
So just to kind of break it down, as far as the chemical imbalance, it's equivalent to diabetic. It's like needing
Right.
insulin. It's just in your brain. And I think a lot of times people are scared of, I'm going to get on this medicine. It's going to make me like a zombie. There has been
Right.
such significant advancement where
Right.
people are not zombified. A lot of those medications that they were utilizing back then, where people had become they wean people off of them and have found better things to help people cope with these imbalances. I'm not saying that as a believer we don't need to believe God to have
Right.
healing in the brain and things of
Right.
that nature, but until you can get that, until your faith is strong enough, or until you can receive your miracle,
Right. Right. And
use what you got.
right? And can I raise this thought?
Yeah.
What if what if God is trying to use that imbalance to draw you closer to Him?
Hmm.
Like the reality is, God can use anything. He can use an affliction to keep you in covenant with Him. So why don't we think God can use depression, or God can use schizophrenia, or God can use, bipolar? Like He can use this, and I know that may mess with some people's
It
theology, and
is messing with my theology right
I
now.
get it. I get it. My theological views are not everybody's views, but I think that sometimes we don't we sell Him short of being big enough and powerful enough to say, you know what, I may not necessarily heal you that way. What if healing may be that I use that thing you are struggling with as a testimony to my greatness?
Hmm.
Because think about it. Let's go, just go there for a split second.
Because
If
my
God,
mind is going tilt, 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 Lee. So you gotta help me out. Bring
I'm,
me
I'm,
out.
I'm, I'm gonna say this quick. I'm gonna say this quick. If God healed us and did everything we asked Him to do, there'll be no need for Him. We would not automatically love and honor and adore Him, because what we would do is we'll just relegate Him to a genie and do what I need you to do. And people still do that anyway. But do what I need you to do. And once you do what I need to do, I have no need for you anymore.
Yeah.
And He gives us a choice to love Him. He gives us a choice to trust Him. But sometimes I think in some cases He's like, you know what? You actually need some humility.
Hmm.
You're asking me to take a cup from you, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna take that one from you. I take this other stuff, but I'm not taking that one from you, because I need you to walk with me. I need you to walk in humility. I need you to go through the process of deliverance. I can deliver you in the moment, but that process of deliverance is different. Biblical example of, and
I
I
can
always use.
agree with that. I can agree with that. I can be with you on that one.
I, cool. One thing I'm gonna say this real quick is that, one of my favorite scriptures, even talking about deliverance or going through the process of healing, is we remember in scripture when Jesus is talking to these two guys that were leper, and he didn't even touch them. Jesus says, "Go show yourself to the priest."
Yeah.
And the scripture talks about as they were walking towards the priest, they got healed.
Yeah.
What if your mental health thing is God being like, go show yourself to the priest?
Yeah.
And that means I got to deal with this for 50 years.
Hmm.
And for the next 50 years, if I trust him, if I believe that he's God, he will keep me.
Yeah.
He will heal me every single step I take.
Hmm.
Every single moment I step forward, he's healing me. And
Hmm.
hold on to that truth. These are things that challenges believers to really assess how do we what do we believe and why do we view scriptures only through a specific lens?
Hmm.
Yes, God does still do instantaneous healings. Yes, God still performs miracles. Yes, God still does the impossible. But what if he wants to work impossible situations just so you'll be mature enough to walk with him in your whole life?
Hmm.
Because some of us, some miracles are about maturity. It is not about a magic show. It is not about doing quick stuff. Some of it is about you learning to grow in your faith, grow in your understanding of who he is, grow in your knowledge of who he is.
Good.
That's what it's about. But
That's good.
sometimes we get so messed up and thinking, well, I gotta it gotta happen quick. It gotta move. He gonna bang, boom, bang. We do that, and it's like that's not how he operates.
Well, see, I mean, I can jive with what you're saying because a lot of times when these things don't happen very quickly, we leave
Oh yeah. Hmm.
because somebody told us it was supposed to happen really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
I'm here to challenge people. I ain't here to be
Yeah.
liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care about being liked. I'm trying to push you to really think.
Yeah, you took me on that journey, man. I tell you. We've got about 8 minutes or so left. I've got one more question that I want to ask you. You had mentioned just kind of what brought you into seeing a therapist. How has that affected your family relationships, your dating relationships, your friendships? And you said you're not trying to meet new friends, but meeting new people. Like, how has that affected you with
Uh,
championing your own mental health?
oh, that's a great. Let's just give you a hand for that great question. That's a phenomenal question. I think in my own journey, and I'm trying to make this concise, is my own mental health recognition was I start forgiving folks. I I, I literally start talking about stuff. Initially, I was mad about a bunch of stuff, like really upset. But I start forgiving people. I had to forgive my family for stuff because I had to realize, wait, they didn't go to therapy. These people have their own issues that have absolutely nothing to do with me.
Mm.
I was only receiving what they had not resolved.
Wow, that's good.
I love and adore my parents, but I recognize that my parents are only a sum of what they have experienced in their own lives.
Mm.
And until they go on their own journeys, until my siblings go on their own journey, until my extended family goes on their own journeys of mental health and trying to deal with their stuff, they're only going to do what they know to do. People at work are just going to do what they know to do. My friends are only going to do what they know to do. My church family are only going to do what they know to do because that is the level at which they have learned themselves. We only operate at the level that we in which we know about ourselves. The reason why some people get into petty arguments is because there's something they don't know about themselves. They don't know something about themselves, so therefore they're projecting. If we really actually listen to arguments, a lot of times people are not arguing about the actual issue. They're arguing about being heard and being seen. Prime example. Great example. I remember one time I was listening to some of my friends talk about something that they felt, and I was listening to the argument or listening to the issue, and all I heard was one of my friends was saying, "Hey, I want you to spend time with me because everybody that I know have walked out on me. So therefore, I got an issue with you because I want not just some of your time, but all of your time. All you don't want." That's what one friend was saying. The other friend is saying, They're not even saying it with their words. This is what they're doing. I'm running away from commitment in this friendship because everything I've committed to has failed me. So you got two people who have experienced certain things. Though they are not saying with their words, this is what they are communicating. And what I've realized in my own life, even in my mental health journey, when it comes down to my family, my friends, my own relationship with my beautiful, amazing Brianna, is that I can only deal with Lee. How Lee responds is what it is. I can't make my girlfriend understand where I'm coming from because she got her own set of experience. I can't make my parents completely understand where I'm coming from because they have their own set of experience. I can't make my friends. So what does that mean for me? Is that I have to self-regulate. I have to figure out, okay, Lee, they're responding this way because they may have not gone to therapy like you. They're responding this way because they may have not resolved that particular issue. They may have gone to therapy, but they may have not dealt with this particular issue, or this may be triggering something that they need to have conversation about or walk through. Like it's all these factors. And so when you start to really recognize the main person that needs to deal with this issue is you start maintaining your own safety of your own mental health.
Yeah.
And I think that's extremely important. And that's how I've handled it. That, like, has it been easy? God, no. The Lord knows it has not been easy. Lord, I can tell you there's some issues that have happened this year where I literally was like, Lord, I'm about to lose it on some people. I'm about to,
Me too.
Jesus, for real. I'm like, Lord, could you go stand over in the corner for about 5 minutes? Let me cuss them out real quick. I got a few choice words for this person.
You mean 2020, right? What
Oh
happened
yeah,
in 2020?
but yes, but and more specifically in some situations, you
Yeah.
know, and I think it's super important for people to really, really self-regulate, assess where you are, assess how you're approaching issues, and in those conversations, though they're hard and difficult and complex, you know what? The powerful thing for you to do, and this is a sign of maturity, is to step back and say, wait, before I respond, let me assess what needs to actually be said in this conversation. Do I need to be heavy handed and come hard? Or do I need to be softer? Or do I need to ask questions? You can diffuse a lot of issues by just simply asking questions and not even being malicious. Just literally being like, okay, you said this. Explain what you meant by that, so I can understand where you're coming from. Because when I stop being concerned about being seen and heard and me getting my way and me trying to make you see me, I can actually be more productive in our conversation because now I understand where you're coming from. But that takes maturity. Excuse me, sorry. That takes maturity and self-regulation.
We are out of time. But I do want to say this one thing, just based on what you just said. It's actually you are taking the power back. You are not allowing, we are not to
Yes.
self-regulate. I'm not allowing people to be in control of my emotions,
Yep.
to be in control of my feelings, no matter how they react, no matter how they feel about me, no matter how they respond to me. I am not allowing what they feel about me, how they feel about me, what they say about me, the guilt
Yes.
trip they're trying to put me on, how they're trying to manipulate me
Yep.
to control me.
Yep.
You have the power in
Yep.
your self-regulation to respond in the way that you need to.
Yep.
Well, Lee, it's been a pleasure to have you on with me this time. I'm so excited. I can't wait to have you back. We'll have to get some dates to talk about accountability as a community.
Most def.
I can't wait. All right. Talk to you soon.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Bye.